We're working to connect a region of over 600 mil bridges between our lands.
Hello, I'm Eliana Sebastian. Welcome to ASEAN in Focus. On tonight's headlines. No Filipinos have so far been reported among the casualties of a horrific stampede in Itaewon that killed over 100 and injured scores others on Saturday night. The death toll from a storm that battered the Philippines has jumped to 98. At least 132 people died in India when a colonial-era pedestrian bridge overloaded with religious revelers collapsed into the river below. And Vice President Kamala Harris will represent the U.S. next month in Bangkok in the third in a trio of Asian summits as President Joe Biden returns for his granddaughter's wedding. VP Harris will travel afterward to the Philippines, a longtime U.S. ally with her husband Doug Emhoff. First in our news, no Filipinos have so far been reported among the casualties of a horrific stampede in Itaewon that killed over 100 and injured scores others on Saturday night, the Philippine Embassy in South Korea said on Sunday. At least 150 were killed from the crush during Halloween revelries in the popular nightlife district in Seoul. About 76 were also injured from the incident, 15 of whom are foreigners, the embassy said, citing Korea's National Fire Agency. The embassy advised Filipinos in Korea to observe precautions during large events. In Manila, the Department of Migrant Workers said it is closely monitoring the situation of overseas Filipino workers, or OFWs. The Secretary, Susan Ople, has ordered the Philippine Overseas Labor Office in Seoul to monitor the situation and provide regular updates to the DMW, read a statement by DMW on Sunday. There are over 50,000 Filipinos living and working in South Korea, but as the country reopened its borders and eased restrictions, more Filipino tourists have also started coming in. The stampede, described as the deadliest in South Korea's history, took place in a narrow downhill alley in the popular entertainment district, with the victims mostly in their 20s. Latest reports, citing authorities, said the foreigners killed include those from Iran, Uzbekistan, China, and Norway. Halloween celebrations in the capital city, especially in Itaewon and Hongdae, have been attracting locals and foreigners alike as early as October 28, with huge crowds filling pubs along its narrow streets. It was the first series of Halloween events in Seoul since the pandemic broke out in 2020. South Koreans flocked Monday to memorials honoring the 154 people killed in a crowd surge at Halloween celebrations as authorities face accusations the lax crowd control had caused the disaster. South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol visited a memorial to victims of the crowd. President Yoon Suk-yeol declared a period of national mourning Sunday, vowing a thorough investigation into one of the country's worst ever disasters. Local shopkeepers told AFP that the number of people at the annual celebration was unprecedentedly large. This year, the first public event to be held without COVID-19 restrictions since the pandemic began. As questions began to emerge over a lack of security at the event, Interior Minister Lee Sang-min told a briefing that the police force had been preoccupied on the other side of the town. The Interior Ministry said the 20 foreigners killed included people from the United States, Uzbekistan, Austria, Norway, Vietnam, Kazakhstan, Iran, and Sri Lanka. The United States Embassy in Seoul confirmed that 2 U.S. nationals had died. Russia said 3 of its citizens were killed. China also confirmed that 4 of its nationals had died, with President Xi Jinping sending deep condolences to Seoul. The death toll from a storm that battered the Philippines has jumped to 98. The National Disaster Agency said Monday, with little hope of finding survivors in the worst-hit areas. Just over half of the fatalities were from a series of flash floods and landslides unleashed by Tropical Storm Nalgae, which destroyed villages on the southern island of Mindanao on Friday. Take a look.
Kung ating titingnan ang mga direktiba ng ating Pangulo, makaraan ng kanyang pag-preside ng NDRRMC meeting kahapon, his directive are as follows: the immediate deployment of potable water to BARM, to be followed by water purifying systems, restoration of power in all affected areas with priority to hospitals and evacuation centers. We also have to assist electric cooperatives that incurred damages in their distribution lines. For DICT, activation of preposition VSATs and satellite phones in areas with unstable cellular signal. For DILG, to assist the BARM in downloading calamity funds. For DPWH, to clear impassable roads and put up Bailey-type temporary bridges in the case of damaged bridges to facilitate relief, medical, rescue mission access. And for NDRRMC, submit draft resolution recommending the declaration of a national state of calamity for the President's review. Ito po ay amin ang ginawa at papunta na po ang aming communication recommending a declaration of national state of calamity. For DSWD po naman, to continue deployment and distribution of additional family food packs, water to affected residents in evacuation and non-evacuation sites. And also for DSW, distribution of assistance to individuals in crisis situation when the situation normalizes. And for all national government agencies, coordinate with the LGUs in all aspects of government response. And lastly, re-examine the timely dissemination of accurate information to the public on forecast, track of a weather disturbance, and estimated amount of rainfall in order to effectively implement preemptive evacuation and minimize deaths.
Nalgae swept across the disaster-prone country, inundating villages, destroying crops, and knocking out power in many regions. It's stuck on a long weekend holiday for the Philippines. The number of fatalities is likely to rise, with the National Disaster Agency recording more than 60 people still missing in its latest report. Scientists have warned that storms which kill people and livestock and destroy farms, houses, roads, and bridges are becoming more powerful as the world gets warmer because of climate change. Pag-asa said Queenie, which entered the Philippine Area of Responsibility Monday morning, has intensified into a tropical storm. However, Pag-asa said it was unlikely to directly affect the Philippines until Tuesday. Residents of Caraga, Eastern Visayas, and Bicol region may experience light to heavy rain starting Wednesday. Pag-asa said the highest wind signal that it may raise is signal number 1. A heavy rainfall warning has so far been raised over Palawan, which means flooding is possible in low-lying areas and landslides in mountainous areas. Pag-asa said this was, however, still due to Paeng, which has so far been spotted west-northwest of Iba, Zambales. The agency said light to moderate with occasional heavy rains are affecting the southern portion of northern Palawan, Cuyo group of islands, and Occidental Mindoro, Lubang, Looc, Sablayan, and the southern portion of Occidental Mindoro. President Bongbong Marcos Jr. thumbed down proposals to place the entire country in a state of calamity for 1 year. Here's why. Take a look.
Yes, and then Maguindanao, tinamaan pa rin yung Maguindanao. So those are the areas. It does not need to have like in the Visayas. There's no need for a national calamity. For Region 1, 2. Hindi naman kailangan mag-national calamity. So I don't think it's necessary. I think we will focus better if we stay with the calamity status as we have now.
At least 132 people died in India when a colonial-era pedestrian bridge overloaded with religious revelers collapsed into the river below, police said on Monday. Authorities said nearly 500 people were celebrating a festival on and around the nearly 150-year-old suspension bridge in Morbi when supporting cables snapped after dark on Sunday. The structure in the western state of Gujarat crashed into the river, spilling scores of people into the water while others clung desperately to the wreckage, shouting for help. The bridge over the Matthew River, a popular tourist spot, had only reopened several days earlier after months of repairs. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who was touring his home state of Gujarat at the time, announced compensation for those killed and injured in the accident. The Gujarat government on its website describes the bridge, some 200 kilometers west of the state's main city, Ahmedabad, as an engineering marvel. District police have launched an inquiry against the contractor. Myanmar's junta has warned a regional bloc working to defuse its political crisis that setting a time frame for a peace plan could lead to negative implications. The bloc's foreign ministers met in Jakarta on Thursday to discuss the crisis. The junta was not represented after it declined an invitation to send a non-political figure. A peace plan agreed by Myanmar and ASEAN last year, which the former has largely ignored, was a process, the junta's Foreign Affairs Ministry said in a statement late Thursday. Inserting additional pressure by setting a time frame will create more negative implications than positive ones. It also accused ASEAN of discrimination for not inviting the junta-appointed foreign minister to the Jakarta meeting. ASEAN has said it is gravely concerned over escalating human rights abuses, including the execution of 4 prisoners in July. Junta leader Min Aung Hlaing has not been invited to an ASEAN Leaders Summit next month for the second year in a row, and Myanmar's top diplomat Wuna Maung Win was excluded from ministerial talks in February and August. A junta-controlled newspaper said earlier this month that the ASEAN policy of constructive engagement is no longer on the table. It said, quote, ASEAN seems to be acting as a lapdog for the U.S. The junta blames anti-coup fighters for the deaths of almost 3,900 civilians. Almost a decade after fleeing China, more than 50 Uighurs are currently languishing in Thai detention facilities, facing an uncertain future as the kingdom strives to strike a balance between Beijing and Washington. Abdullah Sami, a 35-year-old Uighur from Xinjiang, who fled China through Thailand and now lives in Austria, has been in contact with some of the detainees. Let's take a look.
Bazen onlarla orada tutuklu bulunan Uygur Türkleriyle iletişim kuruyorum. Onlar da işte hep iyi bir haber bekliyor. Meyli Birleşmiş Milletler'den olsun veya Türkiye'den olsun veya başka büyük ülke yetkililerden olsun bizim konumuzda herhangi bir gelişme var mı? Biz ne zaman kurtulabileceğiz burada? Ne zaman özgürce yaşayabileceğiz diye hep benden soruyor. Ben de işte üzüntüyle hiçbir şey yok. Sizin hakkınızda hiçbir ses yok. Yani kısacası durum çok kötü yani. Arkadaşlar çok kötü durumda. İşte hastası var, çok yaşlısı var, çok küçüğü var. Yani hep bir serbest kalma ümidiyle, hep bir özgür bir ülkeye gidebilme ümidiyle. Yani bir de Çin'e geri gönderirsek oradaki zulümleri çeker miyiz diye o korkusu.
When we ask about the policy for the Uighur in Thailand, no one can give a good answer how long that they will be here. And many of them is also have family in Turkey. Why not let them to go to stay with their family? So there are so many options that Thai government can make decision. And so when we ask when is a good time, no answer again.
It seems nothing much being progressed because of, it's not up to Thai government per se. It has to be, it has to be a drive from international community as well, in order to push this issue beyond Thai responsibility.
Vice President Kamala Harris will represent the United States next month in Bangkok in the third in a trio of Asian summits, the White House confirmed Friday as President Joe Biden returns for his granddaughter's wedding. Biden will travel on November 11 to the annual UN Climate Conference in Egypt before heading to the East Asia Summit in Cambodia and the Group of 20 in Bali, the White House said. But he will not attend the APEC forum taking place in the Thai capital on November 18 to 19. Harris will attend instead and travel afterward to the Philippines, a longtime U.S. ally with her husband Doug Emhoff. The White House said in a statement that her visit would reaffirm and strengthen the U.S.-Philippines alliance and underscore the breadth of their cooperation as friends, partners, and allies. The United States is hoping for a smooth relationship with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Thailand is also a treaty ally of the United States. Diplomats say that Thailand has been resigned to, if not pleased, with Biden's decision to skip the APEC summit. His eldest granddaughter, Naomi Biden, earlier this year announced plans to get married on November 19 on the White House's South Lawn, only the 19th wedding ever held at the U.S. Executive Mansion, according to the White House Historical Association. Biden will likely have a chance to visit Thailand in 2023 when the kingdom takes over from Cambodia as chair of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, which leads the annual East Asia Summit. Most markets rose Monday ahead of a crucial Federal Reserve policy meeting later in the week, with investors hoping for a less hawkish tilt in their plans for interest rates. A sense of relief has settled on trading floors over the past week, following a report that the U.S. Central Bank could take its foot off the accelerator in its push to rein in decades-high inflation. Adding to the positive mood has been an indication that others around the world are looking at slowing down, though the excitement was tempered Friday by record inflation readings in Europe and data showing prices remain elevated. Asian dealers were given a strong lead from Wall Street, where all three main indexes ended more than 2% higher, thanks to a rally in tech firms following a strong earnings report from Apple. Tokyo, Hong Kong, Seoul, Singapore, Taipei, and Wellington all piled on more than 1%, while Sydney and Jakarta were also up. As the Iglesia ni Cristo Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo Manalo, celebrates his birthday today, a Canadian official recognized the church's humanitarian efforts and outreach projects worldwide. Let's take a look.
The members of the Iglesia ni Cristo, or Church of Christ, through the leadership of their executive minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, continuously and unceasingly extend their helping hand to the people in need and less privileged in the community by giving care packages. They are doing this humanitarian effort non-stop in different places worldwide. They do it out of love and care, inspired by the teachings of our Lord God, taught by their dynamic leader, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, to somehow ease or lessen the suffering of their fellow men, especially in places that were struck with a disaster. This unrelenting kind deed was not left unnoticed by some of the community's leaders like Cindy Lamoureux. She will again express her heartfelt appreciation for the generous gesture of the members of the Iglesia ni Cristo through their Care for the Humanity outreach program.
Incredibly grateful for the Church of Christ as a whole and all of their aid for humanity, and I recognize I've been very, very lucky because they've come into Tyndall Park on numerous occasions, but it goes much beyond Tyndall Park. It's throughout the city of Winnipeg, the province, in fact throughout the entire world, and the Church of Christ they've been able to pitch in and contribute to our community in so many ways, whether it's the food hampers, whether it's school supplies. That was the first time thing in my constituency. Aid for Humanity bought big boxes, tons of big boxes down for students, youth, and children, so they had school supplies this coming year. I think one of the coolest things about Aid for Humanity is it's actually gaining a huge reputation because of the activism, because of the work. More and more often people are hearing about Aid for Humanity, and I've had people ask me, wait, who are they? Can I get them to come to my constituency? And I think it's that word of mouth and that activism. I know in Tyndall Park, the area that I represent, I've had children come up to me, I've had youth from the youth hub come up to me and say, hey, did you help organize this with Church of Christ? And it really is, it's making a statement. People are remembering it, people are feeling grateful for it, people want more of it, and I think we need more of that in our world. I just want to thank Mr. Edward Villanueva Manalo for all of his support in the entire world and really giving back to the community. I want to wish you, Eduardo V. Manalo, a very, very happy birthday, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in the Philippines.
From Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, I'm Kathleen May Pangan. We live extraordinary times.
To extend care for others amid these challenging and extraordinary times, the members of the Church of Christ in South led a blood donation drive held at the Suwon Donation Center. Our correspondent from South Korea, Kristen Jewel Uighur, reports from Seoul.
Members of the Iglesia ni Cristo did a blood donation drive in several places here in South Korea.
Members of the Iglesia ni Cristo, or also known as Cristo Kyohe in Korean, did a blood donation activity in South Korea. The church is doing this for several years now already in the country. It is normally done every October of the year in commemoration with the birthday of the church's executive minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. It is one of the teachings of the church to help other people, and this is why they are doing this humanitarian activity.
Kami po ay lubos na nagpapasalamat sa ating pinakamamahal na tagapamahalang pangkalahatan, ang kapatid na Eduardo V. Manalo, sa pagpapatibay po nila ng ganitong aktibidad na blood donation. Napakahalaga po ng ganitong aktibidad sapagkat una, nakatutulong po ito ng malaki sa nangangailangan po ng dugo. At sa panig naman namin na magdodonate ay malaking tulong po ito sa amin pong kalusugan.
Ang blood donation po ay isinasagawa natin ngayon sa ating distrito upang atin pong maitaguyod ang doktrina na itinuro sa atin ukol po sa pakikipagkapwa-tao at ang pagtulong sa mga nangangailangan. Sa ganitong paraan din po ay ating nagagawang maipakilala sa mga tao, lalo na po sa pamahalaan ng bansang ito, ang ukol sa Iglesia ni Cristo. Bahagi na rin po ng ganito nating aktibidad sa ating distrito ay ang ating paggunita sa nalalapit na kaarawan ng ating pong pinakamamahal na tagapamahal ng pangkalahatan, ang kapatid na Eduardo V. Manalo.
Makakatulong po ang ganitong aktibidad sa iba pang mga tao, sa ating kapwa-tao na nangangailangan. Gayun din po sa mismong nag-donate po ng dugo ay meron po itong benefits na makukuha. At ang ganito pong mga aktibidad ng distrito ay pinaghandaan po ng mga may tungkulin at mga kapatid sa pangunguna po ng mga ministro at mga manggagawa sa aming distrito upang sa gayon ay may pagtagumpay po namin ang gawain na ito sa layunin po na makatulong po sa ating kapwa.
Ang kahalagahan po ng pag-donate po ng dugo na ito ay para po makatulong po tayo sa ating kapwa. Higit po sa lahat ay tutugon po kami sa aktibidad po na idulasad po ng ating kapamahala, kapatid na Eduardo V. Manalo.
In this year, the blood donation was done in several places. In Guro, Seoul, in Bucheon and Suwon, which are both part of Gyeonggi Province, in Gwangju, Jeollanam-do, in Daegu, and also in Busan. Most of the donors are regular donors and regularly supporting this activity of the church. However, there are also still some first-timers who were encouraged to help by donating blood. The church will still continue to do this humanitarian activity and will plan to expand in many areas in the future.
Napakahalaga ng ganitong aktibidad sapagkat naipapadaman natin ang ating pagmamahal at pagpapaalaga sa ating kapwa.
This is Christian Jewel Uighur reporting from Seoul, South Korea. We live in extraordinary times.
OFWs in Hong Kong received aid from Iglesia ni Cristo's Unceasing Help from their Care to Humanity project. More from Kit Wong.
Hong Kong, one of the world's tourist destinations and financial hub in the world, and one of the regions in China seriously affected by COVID-19, has started easing restrictions and mandatory hotel quarantine for foreigners, visitors, and locals here in Hong Kong.
Today, the members of the Church of Christ in the Ecclesiastical District of Hong Kong gathered at the Crown Plaza Hotel and 3 other venues to take part in the Care for Humanity event. The Iglesia de Cristo, Church of Christ, through Valles White Manano Foundation, prepared more than 3,000 care packages for the guests, consisting locals and mostly migrant workers in Hong Kong. The air was filled with excitement as this is the first ever event held by the District of Hong Kong after 3 years. Now that Hong Kong has relaxed most of its social distancing measures and restrictions, this Care for Humanity event was the first gathering of this big since 2019. While the main site was the Crown Plaza Hotel, it was live-streamed to 3 other venues across Hong Kong, the local of Kowloon, Hong Kong East, and Yuen Long. All these venues were filled to the brim, a manifestation of the brethren's enthusiasm to bring their guests and be united with the church administrations, called to share God's words and share blessings to other people. Such a timely event, especially for the migrant Filipino workers in Hong Kong. In one of the surveys conducted by the NGOs Helper Choice and Enrich, 3 in 10 migrant workers experiencing financial and emotional stress, especially in the 5th wave of pandemic in the early 2022. With pressures back home to send for the needs of their family, the Care for Humanity event was a beaver for them. They were able to receive care packages and most of all, they found time to listen to the words of God. This event of the Church of Christ, Iglesia de Cristo, in Hong Kong through the instruction of the Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manano, led by the District Supervising Minister, Brother Ernel Chineda, and the Assistant District Supervising Minister, Brother Norman Miza, ministers and their wives, together with the church officers, did not only share resources for the daily needs of the most vulnerable group in Hong Kong. Most of all, the church also shared hope.
Amidst this pandemic, we conducted this Care for Humanity to give our fellow man material assistance and most especially the words of our Lord God written in the Bible. We did this Care for Humanity because the government is the restriction here in Hong Kong.
Lamang po sa Crown Plaza Hotel ay nasa 800 ang naging bilang ng aming mga panauwi. Bukod pa sa 3 dako na kasabay na isinagawa sa nasabing pamamahayag sa lokal ng Kowloon, Hong Kong West at sa lokal ng Yuen Long. Sa kabuuan, ang naging panauhin po namin ay nasa 3,000 na mga panauhin. Sumasampalataya po kami na nagawa po namin ito sa awa tulong ng ating Panginoong Diyos.
Ako po si Rowena Belmonte. Masayang naanyayahan po ng kapatiran ng Iglesia ni Cristo. Salamat po sa aking naging kaibigan po ngayon. Nakilala ko po ngayon sa...
Nagpapasalamat po ako dahil napaunlakan po ako ni Sis Rowena.
From the local congregation of Hong Kong East, Ecclesiastical District of Hong Kong, we would like to greet our beloved Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo.
我們至愛嘅行政牧師 Brother Eduardo V. Manalo， 祝福你生日快樂，身體健康。Happy birthday, Paul! We love you, Paul!
From Hong Kong, this is Kit Wong for the Worldwide Care for Humanity special coverage. And we live in extraordinary time.
And before we go, let's watch this from our friends in Honolulu, Hawaii.
From the Asena's family of the District of Hawaii Pacific,
we wish to greet our beloved Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, a very blessed and very happy birthday, po.
We love you, po.
And as my usual habit, I'd like to end this day on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. Thank you for joining us. And we would also like to greet the Executive Minister of Iglesia ni Cristo, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, a happy and blessed birthday po. From EBC Vietnam Bureau, I'm Eliana Sebastian, and we live in extraordinary times.